Count your fucking days, Ableton. Count your fucking days. All right. Anyway. So, yeah. This is a yeah, that's a pretty good opening. Anyway, this is Refined ADD with your host Ben, or has been. Today's podcast, this is the first one. So, this is basically a podcast for me to yap and to connect with old friends and to connect the dots between different types of media that I love and the royal we love as well. I really like podcasts. I've been a podcast fan for years. I'm just going to talk about podcasts right now. I started listening to talk radio with my dad, especially the Dinner Party Download. The Dinner Party Download, if you do not know, is an NPR podcast that talks about dinner etiquette and, just general polite etiquette vibes. I've grown up to be a very rude 20-something-year-old, but that's where I started. So I had good intentions, y'all. And I used to listen to that podcast while I did my homework a lot. And, people say that I just finished dating this girl. And she was like, you're kind of uppity. Well, I did listen to a Dinner Party Download, like, every day while I did my homework, while I was fasting from social media. So, that's what it is. You're going to pick up some stuff, darling. You're going to pick up some stuff sometimes. But yeah, that's who I am. I love podcasts. I used to be on, I think my very first type of podcast I did with my friend in middle school, and we were playing some type of Kingdom Hearts game, and we were just talking over it, and I enjoyed that experience, and then I never did it again, for years. And then I went to college for music, did a little bit of comedy. Then I started doing like a comedy joke thing where I would write jokes and sometimes not really write jokes. I don't know. Like, sometimes you fall off. And try not to fall off on this. So this is very low effort, very low prepping for this. It's usually I am going to come up with some topics, talk about it, yap about it. I got a couple sections in this. I'm kind of like freelancing right now, kind of just getting the vibes, getting the hang of it. Ableton Live is the op today. I had a pretty good header before this, and then Ableton was like, actually, I think you're done, son. And I was like, I just paid $100 and something for Ableton 12, and you're gonna crash. All right, count your fucking days, Germany. I'm coming for you. Okay, I don't know what the fuck Ableton is. I'm coming for you. Your days are numbered. Anyway, so first kind of topic I'm gonna open up with my big one. Okay, hyperfocus. This is the hyperfocus of the week. This is what I've been thinking about a lot, so I'm just gonna go right on in. We're talking about biopics. Most importantly, the Michael Jackson biopic that just dropped this weekend. I saw it on Thursday. I lied to my grandfather saying like, I'm gonna go to a friend's house, and I just went and saw it on my way at home at work because I-95 sucks dick. And the same crazy thing is, I got off of the highway at 4:00. I went to go see the movie, and then I got back on at the highway at 6:30. Still fucking traffic. Explain that, God. Explain that one, atheist. But like, still, like, it's still, it's a really interesting thing, and I do have complaints. Famously, I saw that IGN gave it a fucking 3 before going in, and I like rebuked that with the devil. I still fucking do. But what I want to focus on, right, is my expectations around and what my rule book for a biopic is. Now, when going into this film, my unconscious thing was, this is the same guy that made Queen. People didn't really the film bros on YouTube were not fucking with Queen. Therefore, I started not fucking with Queen. I watched the movie, like, kind of half-assedly, and I was like, it's kind of cool, whatever. But this is what I'm going to talk about. This is my rule book for biopics. I have not watched, I'm going to say this wholeheartedly, I am a fiend for dramatic, character-led stories, okay? I can count the biopics I've watched on my hand. Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. Bohemian Rhapsody. There we go. No, sorry. Oppenheimer, Bohemian Rhapsody, and then the fucking Bernstein documentary. You know, those 3 things. And like that's in recent years. You know, I do not seek out a biopic. You know, I've heard Ray is phenomenal. I've heard that the Nina Simone biopic is phenomenal. You know, I've heard these things are good, right? You know, you consider that like that, you know, that little performance with the boy. It's like one of those, you know, hot Southern black movies, and they're trying to record this thing, but the son is like has like a stutter. And he's like, and he's trying to do the whole thing, and it's like one of the last films that Chadwick Boseman's in. I'll look it up later. I'm not fucking researching this shit, but I watched 5. I've watched about a total of 5 biopics in the last 5 years. I do not go out my way to find these films. And my rule brick for movies is to have some type of gripping conflict, right? Give me a reason to give a fuck, right? The only thing, and now I'm going to be honest, that's the only rule brick I have for movies. Give me a reason to give a fuck. Give me a reason to be invested. And I'm going to be honest, what I get out of that is a sense that I'm going to have some type of journey with the audience. There's going to be some emotions that are going to be startling, or either this piece of film is going to give me some new information about myself, or it's going to give me to reflect on my own life, or kind of inspire me, right? I'm going to be very honest. Michael Jackson was not doing that for me. I feel like an evil person by saying this, but I do have to say that when I was watching Michael Jackson and when I was watching Michael, I was expecting to learn something new about Michael Jackson. I was expecting to walk in the theater and be like, "Oh, I did not know that. Oh, that's really interesting." Like documentaries. Documentaries are not biopics, and I need to make that distinction. Documentaries are using either found footage or firsthand accounts, or it's not drama. It's like limited dramatization, and they're actually trying to focus on actual things. I bring up the distinction between biopics and documentaries is because my mind was blown when I watched the Kanye West Genius doc. That thing had me going like, yo, that's his fucking mom. And he was talking about graduation with his fucking mom, and he was like, I don't know what to name the album. And he's like, and then his mom said, why don't you just not make the college dropout? And then he had the audacity to be like, maybe. Nigga, shut up, Kanye. You knew you were gonna name that shit. The moment your fucking mom said it, you were gonna name it that shit. You love your mom. And that's the kind of wow moments that I was kind of hoping to get from Michael Jackson. Did not happen for me, right? Did not happen for me. It was very much like the only reason I gave a fuck to be in the theater, it was like, oh shit, Michael Jackson movie. like I was there and I was like, I can't wait to see me some Michael. I'm gonna see Michael Jackson. Like I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see this nigga. You know, it's his nephew to do Michael Jackson. It's Javar Jackson. He did great. He's never gonna act again. I'm not saying that his career is over, but like I cannot unsee that nigga as Michael Jackson. Like he did it. Congratulations. Whatever. Here's the thing. Congratulations to the child actor that played the young Michael, and congratulations to Jafar Jackson. Y'all did that shit. We won't be seeing you again. Unfortunately, okay? Y'all did so well that you might get typejacked. You might be trapped in the Jackson hole here. I don't know. I just know that when I see Jafar Jackson again, I'm going to hear hee hee every time when I see his face. Because that nigga is just Michael. It's just Michael. I'm distracted as hell. But I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at the film. I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is just a Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? It is a Wikipedia, chopped, edited, well shot, technically beautiful, CGI looking good, hair on fleek. You know, everything is looking great in this film. It's a fabulous, beautiful, sleek, good movie, and it's very respectful. And I was watching this, and I was watching this doc. I was listening to this podcast called Swim Fans, and there's a bunch of these pretentious film goers, and they talk about like how like, like maybe the estate needs to be fucking weak, right? The estate needs to be weak, right, of the artist, and the artist also needs to be fucking dead, you know. And the thing is, Michael Jackson is eternal. He might be dead, but his estate is very powerful, and no one has it out for Michael Jackson. No one has it out for Michael Jackson. Maybe the people that made, Escaping Neverland have it out for Michael Jackson. But no one in Michael Jackson's estate has it out for Michael Jackson. And we're not going to get the dirty details about Michael Jackson. At least in this movie. Okay? And I'm going to leave it right there for a second. I feel like, and maybe it's exploitative, shady, and gross, that I want to see all the dirty, grimy stuff of Michael Jackson's life, and like Billie Jean is allegedly about a woman claiming that Michael Jackson got a kid somebody, like I'm saying, like Michael Jackson's fucking some girl and said, I'm not the one. Tell me about that, Michael. Tell me about that, filmmaker. Who is this woman? Like, who is this woman, and why is she not the one? Like, can we dive deep? Like, you're not going to show me Michael Jackson in The Wiz. You're going to skip over that bitch. Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones only got together because they were on The Wiz. Michael Jackson made 4 some albums before he did Off the Wall. We're just going to go from Jackson 5 to boom. Like, it's just like, it feels like if you know anything about Michael Jackson, this is just your time to be like, actually, like, and to have that little feeling of superiority over the film. Like, I feel like the film didn't really give us anything more. They're going to talk about the MTV moment where they're like, play my motherfucking video. They're going to talk about that moment where he's in the Jackson 5 and he's swinging and diving and dancing and he's cutting that first record at Motown. I'm going to be honest, when that little Motown scene, that was cool. That was actually like, whoa, that's Barry Gordon. Oh, shit. Like, I was kind of hyped for that because I was like, damn, they made Motown feel cool. Because Motown is fucking cool. But, like, I don't know. I don't think you understand that Motown was the shit. And also, I would have loved that like, quick side note. I'm about to start going into a point where I feel like a biopic, especially a biopic, where, I'm going to say Wolf of Wall Street, for example. Wolf of Wall Street is not a biopic. Wolf of Wall Street is based on a true story, but I wouldn't call it a biopic. And this is what I'm going to say. I could be fucking wrong with this. But Wolf of Wall Street took time to break down concepts to you, to the audience, why what they were doing was significant. I cannot tell you that going into this movie that you're going to walk away with the significance of who Quincy Jones is. You're not going to walk away with the significance of the fact that Michael Jackson had Paul McCartney on Thriller. You're not walking around with the significance of these things, right? They're not giving you a lot of context. They're not giving you historical value to what's going on. Yeah, they do that one scene where they had Michael Jackson bring in those, the cribs and the blood, and said, I believe that music's going to bring us together. And I really believe that. And we just do it. And it's like, yeah, that's historical significance. It is historically significant that MTV, racist ass motherfuckers, had that moment where Michael Jackson said, play my shit, right? It's historical that happened. But you don't spend time on the Jackson 5 enough. Like, we barely get a chance to meet the other brothers. We barely get enough chance to digest how important Motown is. Like, it's very flash by, it's very we're gonna hit it and we're gonna move on. And it's, unfortunately, I feel like, this is another rule brick. I want to learn something I didn't learn before, I didn't know before, and I also want to give a fuck, right? Michael Jackson's journey from the Jackson 5 to solo career is kind of, the linchpin, the conflict there is that his dad is domineering and his dad is strict and, lampshaded abuse, right? You see Michael Jackson get beat once, and besides a couple of funny texts to my friends, I do not want to see young Michael Jackson, you know, I'm not fiending for the trauma of Michael Jackson's life. But like I want something. Like give me a reason to give a fuck. But Michael Jackson is so passive in the conflict between him and his dad. You can see that Michael Jackson's so avoidant with his dealings with his family. He loves his family. He 100% loves the Jackson 5. He loves his mom. He don't really like his daddy. But he loves his family. There is no point in that movie where you are not convinced that he does not have profound love in his heart. But at the same time, Michael, look in your father's eyes and say, like, literally, look at your father and say, I don't want to do this. But he never did. Michael is literally running from this man at every time. This is why, like, I don't think, like, I'm not saying, like, his father don't respect him. But, like, there is a point, like, I know he's still afraid of, like, potentially getting beat. I 100% know that is a fear that is in adult Michael, the character in this story's brain. He is avoidant of his father. He's avoidant of the fact that he can't confront his desires directly. But even when we get to the apex of the film, where he goes up into the world and says, this is our farewell tour. Like, I still feel that was like, Michael, go talk to your father. Like, go directly to your dad and say, I'm done. Like, he never was able to do it. Like, I don't know. For me, like, that just felt like such, like, it was so anticlimactic, Like, it was not very paying off. Michael Jackson hid behind other people as he told his truth to the world. But he never was able to stand directly to his father and say, this is who I am. And I felt like that didn't really give the movie a lot of stakes. It didn't really, it didn't make me give a fuck because Michael didn't really, he grew, like, post the Pepsi commercial, post all this stuff. He grew, but he didn't, like, he didn't stand and turn and look and say, I am firm in my growth. It still was kind of weaselly. I have to say it was a little weaselly, like how he did it, having Bill be like, hey, it's over. It's over. But anyway, so we've talked about 2 points. We talked about giving a fuck. We've talked about historical precedent, learning about something. Here's the one thing that really pisses me off about this film. They're making a sequel. Okay, we just went from Michael Jackson 5, the Jackson 5, to bad in this movie. Okay? Y'all, I understand. And let me kind of roll back here. Before I start complaining about this is going to be a sequel, there's going to be a sequel. Let me talk about the director. The director also made Queen, and a lot of criticism that Queen got was that it was just a bunch of aura and hype moments. It was about quickly establishing who this band was, who created this band, like who was, the origin story, go into a little bit about the backstory about each musician, or at least about the main protagonist, and don't really get wrapped up about creating a narrative around their story, but more or less get wrapped up in the fact that you're trying to just summarize their life as quickly as possible. And also show a lot of the song making process. Show a little bit of that little inspiration moment of the song process. And then show a quick montage of it becoming a real song. And don't really show them struggling at all, right? I will give this movie credit. It does show us a little bit of the struggle of, Michael Jackson trying to name Thriller, which was kind of cool. It gave a lot more downtime for Michael to just kind of fuck around and figure out what what human nature was gonna sound like. That was kind of cool. Um, they showed a lot of his character with the kids, but I'm gonna be honest, it was not, you know, the commentary between his relationship with his father, his development from the Jackson 5 to Bad, and you know it's Michael Jackson the movie themes, and with themes you're getting he's tough, his relationship with his father. Michael Jackson is lonely, but he cares deeply about children, so he visits a bunch of people in the hospital for Make-A-Wish. um he'll buy presents for children and Make-A-Wish. But also at the same time, Michael Jackson has Arrested Development. He's asking his grown adult brothers to play Twister with him. Because he didn't really get a childhood, so he has a little bit of that Arrested Development, and also he has fucking bubbles and a draft, and he's rich, 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 rich. So like you're getting themes of Michael Jackson, tastes of Michael Jackson, and you're seeing him develop that motif of Neverland. You know, um, it's just a lot of things. It's just throwing a collage of colors that Michael Jackson's career painted, and you're getting like a rotoscope, a kaleidoscope of Michael. But I don't really feel like it's connected. It just feels like a montage. It feels like a summary of a film, and I hate to say it, Zuzu. I feel like Ozula when I say this. It's just aura and hype moments. And there's nothing wrong with just aura and hype moments. I have this high expectation of like I want historical precedent in my films, and I want to learn something, and I want, really I want things to be emphasized and things to be explained about how significant it is that he's working with Motown, and how significant it is that, da 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 da. I want a little bit more driving conflict in the film, and I want all that stuff. But at the same time, other people are walking into a biopic, right? And the same thing with Queen. Other people are going to be walking into a biopic, and they want to see the character, the artist. They want to hear the music, and they want to have fun. And this movie, if you want to see the character, you want to see the music, you want to hear the music, and you want to see that little spark of inspiration moment, this movie is for you. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of rambled a lot there. It was a very big hyper focus, but I'm going to end my conversation about Michael right there. I certainly think that when you're making a aura and hype moments film, that you do have to cap it off at 2 hours, and I can totally understand that if this was like Ray, where they had more of a, and I'm assuming that Ray has a stronger POV and a stronger sense of conflict, right, throughout that entire thing. Ray was about 3 hours, I think, if I'm just going off, right. Ray is about 3 hours, deservedly. Oppenheimer is about 3 hours. That's a very good through line of dramatic tension that Christopher Nolan is able to pull through that entire film. Michael Jackson, not so much. If you're gonna give me an artist film, the same thing with Maestro, with Leonard Bernstein thing. That whole entire thing is, it's it's aura and hype moments, but like artsy aura and hype moments. You see Bernstein go from like this conductor student, and then he ends up being like the Bernstein we all know, but his wife gets sick, and then he's like, I'm also gay, and I don't know how to choose between my sick wife and my gayness, and my bisexualness, and his wife dies, and then at the end of the film he's like dancing at a gay bar. It's anticlimactic. Biopics are anticlimactic because you already know what happens. I know what's going to happen in this second part of the Michael Jackson film, and I can totally understand that they didn't want to stuff it all into one movie and have it be 3.5 hours, and then have a lot of shit be rushed. But also at the same time, it's an aura and hype moments film. So like the next movie, hypothetically speaking, has to be shorter. Maybe. I'm expecting 90 minutes. That's what I'm saying. Because like there's not a lot of content. There's not a lot of content if you're making a or a hype moments movie. If you're just summarizing stuff and you're not really trying to tell a narrative, you're gonna run out of material very quickly. You know, and I feel like Michael Jackson has done a lot in his career. So yeah, it does warrant it too. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done talking about Michael. If you want a coherent take, you know, I'll upload like a small little thing. But I'm gonna be my final Azula moment. Zuzu. Michael Jackson is mid Zuzu. It's gonna be 3 stars out of 5. Zuzu. Michael Jackson is 3 stars out of 5. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna kind of finish this out, and we're gonna talk about what's you mean dope. Like dopamine, but like you mean dope. Haha. Thing I really like. JJK. I really love JJK. I don't really have much else to say about liking JJK. JJK is just shit. I'm gonna be honest. JJK is just a shit. You know. And the one crazy thing I have to shit on, and I know I have been going for like, what is 786 measures in Ableton. The crazy thing I have to shit on is, okay, sit with me here. You are John Mulaney, okay? John Mulaney, American comedian. If you know comedy and you know the world at large, you know that John Mulaney has been a big fish in the ocean that is American comedy right now. He bursted on the scene in the middle of the 2010s and had like a pretty good run all the way up into 2022, and then it came out, I think it came out in like 2000, in the 2020s to 2022 period that he was, I'm just kind of, you know, in between like 2019 to 2022, like he was going through a whole bunch of changes where he went into rehab for cocaine and other drug problems. And my thing is, you know, Jonathan, if you're going to be doing cocaine, okay, and this is going to be crass, Jonathan, you're doing cocaine, Jonathan, okay? Right. And you're an artist. You have a world stage in front of you. You're going to go do cocaine. Where are the generational bangers? Now, let me be very clear. You have many talents, Jonathan. You are in Spider-Verse. You have Emmys. You have Oscars. You know, you have the awards. You know, you are on the route to getting a Mark Twain award in your future, Jonathan. This is going to happen. I do believe it will happen for you, Jonathan. But, Jonathan, you did get on the cocaine. Now, famously, when artists do the cocaine, they put out generational art, okay? Look at Whitney Houston. She got on cocaine, and I will always love you. Cocaine. Generational banger. Banger. Generational banger, Jonathan. What did you do? New in town. My dog, Petunia. Really? Really? James Brown on cocaine. Get out! That's not even English. And yet, everybody knows what song I'm singing. Cocaine. Richard Pryor shot his wife. Okay? His wife was driving away in a car. He shot at her, then made a special about it. Generational banger. On cocaine. And you got new in town. You said, I'm going to come back after doing cocaine, after getting my life together, and I'm going to do a little star dropping special where I'm going to talk about all the big name celebrities that were at my intervention. And I'm like, okay, Jonathan, I saw you live for this. You were quite good. But at the same time, I don't know if your body of work justifies you being on cocaine. Like, I'm going to be honest. Okay? I just don't feel it. You know? Get up, get out. It's gonna be a down. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Those guys had to be on cocaine. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Like, if you told me that Charlie XCX was actually doing cocaine, you know, I believe you. You know, 360. I do think that's gonna pierce the heavens. You know, Brat Summer lasted for 2 summers. Fuck you're talking about. You know, I'm just saying, if you're gonna do cocaine, go out big. And that's the pod. That's the pod, man. I hope you enjoyed me being completely schizophrenic, talking to myself for over an hour. And yeah, more to come. More to come. Bye.